Imagine you crafted flight itself in a cozy workshop, where every twig whispers secrets of the sky and customers think faster is just another word for more expensive. Welcome to Whispered Sleep Sagas, where starlit tales unravel into dreams. Dim the lights, nestle into your coziest spot, exhale your cares, sink into softness, and let tonight's story, gentler than a hobbit's nap, carry you to sleep's cozy embrace. If this tale lulled you toward dreams, or made you chuckle like a student tripping over their own cauldron, give it a like and subscribe. No pressure. My ego's as sturdy as a Quidditch goalpost, but your support keeps the firelit stories burning. The village of Hogsmeade nestles against the Scottish Highlands, like a secret whispered between ancient stones, its cobbled streets winding through cottages that seem to have grown from the earth itself, rather than been built upon it. Steam rises from chimneys in lazy spirals, carrying the mingled scents of butterbeer, parchment, and that peculiar metallic tang that clings to places where magic has settled deep into the very foundations. Here, where wizards and witches gather to trade gossip as readily as galleons. The art of broom making thrives in workshops tucked between sweet shops and taverns, a craft as old as the first witch who looked at a bundle of twigs and thought, "I bet I could make this fly." You wake to the gentle creaking of your workshop settling into another day, the wooden beams stretching like an old cat in the morning light that filters through diamond-paned windows. The scent of birchwood shavings mingles with the sharper aroma of the binding oils you use to seal each bristle, creating an atmosphere that speaks of patient craftsmanship and the kind of work that measures success not in speed, but in the perfect alignment of twig to handle. Your fingers, stained amber from years of working with magical wood preservatives, know every groove of your workbench, every tool hanging precisely where you left it the night before. The art of broom making you've learned through decades of practice is less about forcing magic into wood and more about coaxing out the flight that already sleeps within each carefully selected branch. Every piece of birch has its own personality, some eager to soar, others content to hover, and the occasional rebellious twig that seems determined to fly sideways no matter how you adjust the binding. You've come to think of yourself as part craftsman, part negotiator, spending your days in diplomatic talks with timber that has opinions about aerodynamics. Your workshop occupies the ground floor of a narrow building that leans against its neighbor, like two old friends sharing a secret. Its walls lined with racks of brooms in various stages of completion. Some hang like sleeping bats, their bristles neat and untested, while others sport the slightly ruffled appearance of models that have been through their first test flights. The wooden handles, sanded smooth as silk and treated with oils that make them gleam like honey in the lamplight, rest in careful rows, each one waiting to be matched with its perfect complement of bristles. The morning light reveals the controlled chaos of your craft. Shavings scattered across the floor, in patterns that would make sense only to someone who understands the rhythm of whittling. Small piles of rejected twigs that didn't meet your standards for flexibility or magical conductivity, and the array of tools that transform rough timber into instruments of flight. Your measuring devices, some inherited from the previous broom maker and others invented through trial and error, catch the light with the worn shine of frequent use. You begin each day the same way, running your hands along the handles you prepared the previous evening feeling for any overnight warping or changes in the wood's mood. Magical timber, you've discovered, is about as predictable as the weather, prone to expanding with humidity, contracting with cold, and developing mysterious preferences for which direction it wants to point. The birch handles destined for racing brooms seem particularly temperamental, occasionally deciding they'd rather be used for stirring cauldrons, while the more sedate models intended for casual flying maintain a dignified composure that makes them a pleasure to work with. The first task of the morning involves selecting bristles from the collection that fills an entire wall of your workshop. Bundles of twigs sorted by source, flexibility, and that indefinable quality that determines how a broom will handle in flight. The finest bristles come from birch trees that have grown in areas of high magical concentration, their cellular structure altered by years of exposure to wandless magic, and the residual energy that seeps from places where powerful spells have been cast. These premium materials command prices that make even wealthy Quidditch players wince, but the difference in performance justifies every knut. You select a bundle of particularly promising twigs, their surfaces smooth, and their color the pale gold that indicates optimal magical absorption. Each bristle must be examined individually, tested for flexibility by bending it between your fingers, checked for the telltale shimmer that suggests good magical conductivity. The rejects go into a separate pile, not waste, but materials suitable for the everyday brooms that shopkeepers use to sweep their storefronts, or the practice models that flying instructors prefer for their ability to limit speed and altitude. The binding process requires the kind of patience that modern wizards, accustomed to instant results from their wands, often lack. Each bristle must be positioned precisely, its natural curve aligned with the broom's intended flight characteristics, then secured with thread that has been soaked in a solution designed to enhance magical flow while maintaining the flexibility essential for steering. You work with the methodical precision of someone who has learned that rushing this stage results in brooms that handle like stubborn mules, fighting their riders instead of working in harmony with them. Your fingers move in patterns refined by years of practice, wrapping and securing each bundle with a kind of muscle memory that allows your mind to wander while your hands continue their precise work. The rhythm becomes almost meditative. Wrap, pull, tie, test, adjust. A sequence repeated hundreds of times for each broom. The thread must be tight enough to hold the bristles securely, but not so tight as to restrict their natural movement. A balance that requires the kind of judgment that comes only from making mistakes and learning from them. The workshop fills with the soft sounds of craftsmanship, the whisper of thread against wood, the gentle tap of your binding tool as you check each knot, the rustle of bristles being arranged and rearranged until they achieve perfect symmetry. Outside, the village begins to stir, voices drifting through the windows as early shoppers make their way to the market. But inside your domain, time moves to a different rhythm, measured not in minutes, but in the gradual transformation of raw materials into instruments of flight. By mid-morning, you've completed the binding on 2 racing brooms, destined for a Quidditch team whose seeker has very specific requirements about handle grip and bristle flexibility. The customer, a young witch with the intense focus of someone accustomed to catching tiny golden objects at high speed, had spent nearly an hour in your shop the previous week, testing handle after handle until she found ones that felt right in her grip. You'd noticed her hands, marked with the calluses and small scars that come from years of gripping broom handles in all weather, and had adjusted your recommendations accordingly. Racing brooms represent the pinnacle of your craft, each one designed to specific requirements that can mean the difference between victory and defeat in professional competition. The handles must be perfectly balanced, weighted to complement the rider's natural flying position, while the bristles need to provide maximum speed without sacrificing maneuverability. You've learned to read the subtle signs that indicate a customer's flying style, the way they hold a test handle, their questions about speed versus control, the unconscious adjustments they make to their grip, and tailor each broom accordingly. The test flight phase of broom making provides both the greatest satisfaction and the most potential for entertainment. Your workshop includes a small courtyard behind the building, barely large enough for the gentle hover tests that reveal whether a broom's basic balance is correct, but sufficient to identify any major issues before a customer takes their purchase out for serious flight trials. You've learned to expect the unexpected during these initial tests. Brooms that insist on flying in slow circles, handles that develop an alarming vibration at certain speeds, or bristle arrangements that produce a high-pitched whistle that sounds suspiciously like they're singing. This morning's test subject, a medium-range touring broom designed for comfort rather than speed, performs exactly as intended during its initial hover trial. It rises smoothly from the ground, maintains perfect horizontal alignment, and responds to gentle steering inputs with the kind of predictable behavior that makes it ideal for leisurely flights over the countryside. You guide it through a series of basic maneuvers, checking that the bristles flex properly and that the handle maintains its grip-friendly texture even when subjected to the slight moisture that accumulates during flight. The broom passes all your standard tests with the kind of competent performance that suggests it will provide years of reliable service to its eventual owner, probably a middle-aged wizard who values comfort over excitement and wants a reliable means of transportation that won't try to show off at inappropriate moments. You've built dozens of similar models, each one tweaked slightly based on customer preferences and your own ongoing refinements to the basic design. The touring broom market may lack the glamour of racing models, but it provides the steady income that keeps your workshop operational and your rent paid. Your next project presents more interesting challenges. A custom order from a witch who teaches flying lessons and needs a broom that can limit itself to safe speeds and altitudes while still providing students with a realistic flying experience. The technical requirements involve incorporating magical governors that prevent the broom from exceeding predetermined limits, a modification that requires careful integration with the broom's natural flight characteristics. Too heavy-handed with the limitations, and the broom becomes frustratingly sluggish. Too lenient, and students might find themselves attempting maneuvers beyond their skill level. The governor mechanism consists of small metal rings embedded in the handle, each one inscribed with runes that activate when the broom reaches specific speed or altitude thresholds. The magic involved is subtle, designed to feel like natural resistance, rather than artificial limitation, allowing students to understand their boundaries without feeling constrained by obvious magical interference. You've spent considerable time perfecting this system, working with the flying instructor to ensure that the limitations enhance rather than hinder the learning process. Installing the governors requires precision boring of the handle to create channels for the metal rings, work that must be done without weakening the wood's structural integrity or interfering with its magical conductivity. You use a set of specialized boring tools, their edges kept sharp enough to slice through magical wood without creating the rough surfaces that can cause splinters or interfere with grip comfort. Each hole must be perfectly positioned and sized as the governor rings are manufactured to exact specifications and allow no margin for error in installation. The work demands complete concentration, as a mistake at this stage would require starting over with a new handle, wasting hours of preparation and expensive materials. You take your time, measuring twice before each cut, checking the alignment of each hole against the technical drawings provided by the governor manufacturer. The wood responds well to careful treatment, its grain running straight and true, making the boring process smoother than you'd hope. As you work, your mind drifts to the broader context of your craft within the magical community. Broom making occupies a unique niche in wizarding commerce, requiring both technical skill and artistic sensibility, practical knowledge of aerodynamics, and intuitive understanding of how magic flows through organic materials. The industry has evolved considerably since the early days when any witch with a bundle of twigs and some binding thread could produce a functional flying implement, developing specialized techniques and quality standards that separate professional broom makers from enthusiastic amateurs. The guild system that governs your profession maintains these standards through apprenticeship programs and certification processes designed to ensure that every broom bearing a guild mark meets minimum safety and performance requirements. You'd spent 7 years learning the trade under Master Aldrich Thornfield, a craftsman whose brooms were legendary for their longevity and whose teaching methods were notorious for their thoroughness. Every technique you use, every shortcut you avoid, bears the influence of those long years spent learning that there are no shortcuts to quality craftsmanship. Master Thornfield had emphasized the importance of understanding not just how to make brooms, but why each step in the process matters for the final product's performance. He'd made you practice binding techniques until your fingers moved without conscious thought. Test countless combinations of handlewood and bristle materials to understand their interactions and develop the kind of critical eye that can spot potential problems before they become flight hazards. His workshop had been a laboratory of experimentation and a school of patience, where rushing led to lectures that could last for hours. The afternoon brings your first customer of the day, a young wizard barely out of school who approaches broom selection with a kind of earnest intensity that suggests this purchase represents a significant investment of his limited funds. He examines each model in your display with the careful attention of someone who has read every broom-making guide available and believes himself capable of making an informed technical decision based on specifications and reviews rather than actual flying experience. You watch with amusement as he tests the flex of various bristle arrangements, having clearly memorized someone else's opinions about optimal stiffness ratios and magical conductivity ratings. His questions reveal a theoretical understanding of broom performance that lacks any foundation in practical experience. He knows that racing brooms typically feature shorter bristles for improved speed, but hasn't considered whether he actually needs to fly fast enough for this specification to matter. The enthusiasm is endearing, even if the knowledge is somewhat misapplied. I've read that birch bristles provide better magical flow than hazel, he announces, with the confidence of someone quoting an authoritative source, apparently unaware that the article he's referencing was written by a journalist who had never actually flown a broom professionally. You nod diplomatically while guiding him toward models that prioritize safety and ease of handling over the theoretical performance advantages he's convinced he needs. The selection process becomes an exercise in gentle education as you demonstrate the differences between various broom types through hands-on comparison rather than technical lectures. You have him grip different handle styles to feel how diameter and surface texture affect comfort during extended flights. Show him how bristle arrangement influences steering response, and explain the practical implications of the performance characteristics he's read about. Gradually, his focus shifts from abstract specifications to how each broom actually feels in his hands. After nearly an hour of discussion and testing, he settles on a mid-range general-purpose model that balances performance with user-friendliness, a choice that demonstrates he's actually listened to your guidance rather than simply pursuing the most impressive specifications within his budget. The sale includes a comprehensive orientation session where you cover basic maintenance procedures, safety guidelines, and the warning signs that indicate a broom needs professional attention. You've learned that taking time for proper customer education prevents most of the problems that lead to dissatisfied buyers and negative word of mouth. The young wizard departs with his carefully wrapped purchase and a head full of flying advice, leaving you with the quiet satisfaction that comes from matching the right broom to the right rider. These successful consultations represent the aspect of your business that provides the greatest personal reward, not the high-profit racing broom sales or the bulk orders from flying schools, but the individual customers who leave your shop better informed and more likely to enjoy safe, successful flight experiences. Evening approaches with a warm glow that transforms Hogsmeade's cobblestone streets into something from a fairy tale. Lamplight beginning to flicker in shop windows as businesses prepare for the dinner crowd. Your workshop takes on a different character in this light. The organized chaos of the day's work softened by shadows that hide the scattered wood shavings and emphasize the graceful curves of completed brooms awaiting collection. You begin the end-of-day routine that restores order to your workspace, sorting tools back to their designated locations, sweeping up the accumulated debris of the day's craftsmanship, and securing work in progress against overnight temperature changes that could affect the wood's properties. The familiar tasks provide a transition between the focused concentration of active work and the quieter reflection that comes with evening's approach. The brooms destined for tomorrow's test flights hang in neat rows, their handles gleaming with the warm honey color that comes from proper treatment with magical wood preservatives. Each one represents hours of careful work, decisions made and remade as the balance between performance and safety was refined through countless small adjustments. The bristles catch the lamplight with subtle highlights that hint at their magical properties. The cellular structure altered by exposure to enchanted environments, creating prismatic effects, visible only to those who know what to look for. Your record keeping occupies the final portion of each working day. Notes made in the detailed logbooks that track every aspect of your craft, from material sources and costs to customer preferences and seasonal variations in wood quality. These records serve multiple purposes: business accounting, quality control documentation, and the accumulated wisdom that guides future improvements to your techniques. The Guild requires certain documentation for certification maintenance, but you maintain far more detailed records than the minimum requirements because you've learned that today's casual observation often becomes tomorrow's crucial insight. The logbook entries for today record the successful completion of 2 racing brooms, satisfactory testing of the touring model, and progress on the training broom project. Notes about the young customer's preferences and eventual selection provide data for future reference. As you've learned, that customer behavior often follows patterns that can inform your approach to similar situations. The detailed observations about wood quality and binding performance contribute to the ongoing refinement of your techniques. As darkness settles over Hogsmeade, the village transforms into a constellation of warm lights scattered across the landscape like earth-bound stars. The sounds of evening, conversations drifting from taverns, the distant laughter of diners enjoying their meals, the soft footsteps of late shoppers making their way home, create a soundtrack of community life that has remained essentially unchanged for centuries. Magic may have altered many aspects of daily existence, but the basic rhythms of village life continue to follow patterns established long before the first wizard learned to fly. Your workshop window provides a view of the street where occasional passers-by hurry toward warm destinations, their breath visible in the cooling air as autumn approaches. The changing seasons affect your craft in ways that non-magical woodworkers never experience. Magical timber responds to lunar cycles, temperature variations, and the subtle energy fluctuations that accompany seasonal transitions. You've learned to adjust your techniques accordingly, working with the wood's natural rhythms rather than fighting against them. The birch handles prepared earlier in the week will spend the night in the controlled environment of your drying room, where temperature and humidity remain constant to prevent warping or other dimensional changes that could affect their balance characteristics. The room, lined with shelves of curing wood and equipped with monitoring devices that would mystify most non-magical carpenters, represents a significant investment in quality control that pays dividends in the consistent performance of your finished products. Magical wood preservation requires techniques passed down through generations of craftsmen, methods that balance the need to maintain the wood's natural magical conductivity with the practical requirements of structural stability and weather resistance. The oils and treatments you use are themselves magical preparations, their formulas closely guarded trade secrets that represent the accumulated experience of countless broom makers who discovered through trial and error which combinations of ingredients produce the desired results. The workshop falls quiet as you complete your evening preparations. The creative energy of the day's work settling into the peaceful satisfaction that comes from meaningful labor well performed. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, customers with unique requirements, materials that test your problem-solving abilities, and the ongoing refinement of techniques that transform your craft from mere woodworking into an art form that enables the miracle of human flight. You pause before leaving, running your hand along a nearly completed racing broom that awaits only final adjustment of its bristle alignment. The handle feels perfect in your grip, balanced and responsive, while the bristles display the subtle shimmer that indicates optimal magical integration. This particular broom represents the culmination of everything you've learned about your craft: material selection, construction techniques, and the intuitive understanding of how magic flows through organic materials to create the phenomenon of flight. The racing broom's development had begun months earlier with the selection of its handle wood, a piece of birch that had grown in a grove near an ancient stone circle where magical energy had concentrated for millennia. The tree's cellular structure showed the characteristic modifications that result from long exposure to ambient magic: enhanced flexibility, improved conductivity, and a natural resistance to the stresses of high-speed flight. You'd paid premium prices for this material, but its performance characteristics justified the investment. The bristles came from an equally specialized source, harvested from trees that had grown in the lee of a dragon preserve, where the ambient magical field reached levels that normal vegetation couldn't tolerate. These bristles possessed unusual properties: exceptional strength combined with remarkable flexibility, and a natural affinity for the complex magical fields generated during rapid acceleration and tight maneuvering. The combination of premium materials and careful craftsmanship have produced a broom that promised performance levels achievable only through the marriage of superior components and masterful construction. As you lock the workshop and step into the cool evening air, Hogsmeade wraps around you like a familiar embrace, its ancient stones and crooked streets holding the accumulated magic of centuries. The village exists in a unique relationship with the magical world, serving as a bridge between the hidden community of wizards and the ordinary world that continues its existence without knowledge of the wonders that surround it. Your craft contributes to this delicate balance, creating instruments that enable flight while maintaining the discretion essential for preserving the boundary between magical and mundane existence. The walk home takes you through streets that have witnessed the evolution of magical transportation, from the earliest experimental brooms to the sophisticated flying machines that dominate modern Quidditch. The cobblestones beneath your feet have felt the footsteps of generations of broom makers, each contributing to the accumulated knowledge that defines your craft. The techniques you use daily represent the distilled wisdom of centuries of experimentation, failure, and gradual improvement. Your cottage, nestled between a shop that specializes in magical pest control and another that sells enchanted garden tools, provides a sanctuary where the day's work can settle into memory while your mind prepares for tomorrow's challenges. The small rooms, filled with the comfortable clutter of a life dedicated to craftsmanship, reflect your personality in ways that a showroom never could. Shelves lined with technical references and half-finished experiments. Walls decorated with examples of exceptional broom construction. and the pervasive scent of wood preservatives and magical materials. The evening meal becomes a quiet celebration of the day's accomplishments, simple food enhanced by the satisfaction that comes from work well done. You review the day's activities while planning tomorrow's projects, mental preparation that ensures you'll wake with a clear sense of priorities and objectives. The racing broom needs final bristle adjustment. The training broom project requires installation of its governor rings, and you expect delivery of a special order of premium birch handles that will become the foundation for next month's production schedule. The cottage settles into evening quiet as you prepare for sleep, the accumulated fatigue of concentrated craftsmanship creating the pleasant tiredness that promises deep rest. Outside, Hogsmeade continues its ancient rhythm, the village maintaining its watch over the valley while its residents dream of tomorrow's possibilities. The magic that suffuses every aspect of life here doesn't pause for human sleep schedules. It continues its work through the night, aging wood, integrating treatments, and preparing materials for tomorrow's transformation into instruments of flight. Your final thoughts before sleep focus on the racing broom awaiting completion, its potential for exceptional performance, balanced against the responsibility that comes with creating something capable of carrying its rider to extraordinary heights at remarkable speeds. The trust that customers place in your craftsmanship extends far beyond the transaction that transfers ownership. It encompasses their confidence that your work will keep them safe while enabling them to experience the freedom that comes with mastery of flight. Sleep comes easily after days filled with meaningful work, your dreams populated by visions of perfect brooms rising into endless skies, their riders discovering the joy that comes from the marriage of human ambition and masterful craftsmanship. In these dreams, every broom you've ever created finds its perfect match with a rider whose skills complement its capabilities, the two working together to explore the infinite possibilities that await those brave enough to leave the ground behind. The cycle continues, materials transformed through skill and patience into instruments of wonder, craftsman and customer united in the shared pursuit of flight, and the ancient magic that makes it all possible flowing through workshop and village like an endless stream of possibility. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and opportunities, but tonight brings the peaceful satisfaction of work well done and dreams of soaring on wings of your own creation. Morning arrives with the familiar symphony of Hogsmeade awakening, the distant clatter of cauldrons being prepared for the day's brewing, the soft chiming of shop bells as early customers venture forth, and the gentle whoosh of delivery brooms passing overhead like mechanical birds carrying parcels to destinations throughout the village. You stretch in your narrow bed, feeling the pleasant ache in your fingers that comes from yesterday's detailed binding work, a reminder that your craft demands both mental precision and physical endurance. The workshop greets you with the slightly sweet aroma of magical wood preservatives, mingling with the earthier sense of sawdust and binding oils, creating an atmosphere that speaks of honest work and patient craftsmanship. Today's schedule includes completing the racing broom that has occupied your thoughts for weeks, testing a batch of training models destined for a flying academy, and meeting with a rather eccentric customer who claims to have discovered ancient blueprints for a revolutionary broom design. Your morning routine begins with a careful examination of yesterday's work, checking each broom for any overnight changes that might affect its performance characteristics. Magical wood, you've learned, through years of experience, possesses something approaching a personality, capable of subtle adjustments to temperature, humidity, and even the emotional atmosphere of its environment. A broom that flew perfectly during yesterday's tests might develop an annoying tendency to pull left if the wood has decided it prefers a different bristle tension. The racing broom awaits its final adjustments with the patient dignity of a thoroughbred horse prepared for an important race. Its handle gleams with the deep amber glow that indicates proper magical saturation, while the carefully arranged bristles display the uniform shimmer that suggests optimal conductivity throughout the entire bundle. You run your hands along its length, feeling for any imperfections that might compromise its aerodynamic properties or create uncomfortable vibrations during high-speed flight. The bristle alignment requires microscopic adjustments, each twig positioned with the precision demanded by customers who measure performance improvements in fractions of seconds and expect their equipment to provide every possible advantage. You work with specialized tools designed specifically for this purpose, thin metal guides that ensure uniform spacing, measuring devices calibrated to detect variations invisible to the naked eye, and binding threads so fine they seem to disappear into the wood they secure. Each bristle must be tested individually for flexibility and magical conductivity, a process that involves gentle bending to assess resistance characteristics and brief exposure to controlled magical fields to verify proper energy transmission. The rejected bristles, though unsuitable for racing applications, will find homes in less demanding projects where their minor imperfections won't affect performance. Nothing goes to waste in a properly managed workshop. Every scrap of material serves some purpose, even if only as kindling for the small fire that provides warmth during cold highland mornings. The binding process reaches its climax as you secure the final bristles with thread that has been treated with solutions designed to enhance magical flow while maintaining the flexibility essential for responsive steering. Your fingers move in patterns refined through thousands of repetitions, each knot tied with the precise tension that balances security against the need for natural bristle movement. The work demands complete concentration, as a single poorly tied knot could create a weak point that fails during the extreme stresses of competitive flying. The completed racing broom represents the pinnacle of your craft, a synthesis of premium materials, advanced techniques, and the intuitive understanding that separates master craftsmen from skilled technicians. Its balance feels perfect in your hands, the weight distribution optimized for the specific flying style of its intended owner, while the bristle arrangement promises the kind of responsive handling that can mean the difference between victory and defeat in professional competition. Testing the racing broom requires more space than your small courtyard can provide, so you make arrangements to use the larger practice area behind Mistress Elmira's Flying Academy, a patch of level ground large enough for safe, high-speed trials. The Academy's proprietor, a former professional Quidditch player whose career ended when a bludger impact left her with a permanent fear of competitive flying, has developed a keen appreciation for quality craftsmanship and often allows local broom makers to use her facilities in exchange for maintenance work on the school's fleet of training brooms. The test flight begins with gentle hovering maneuvers designed to assess basic stability and control response, gradually progressing to more demanding trials as the broom's characteristics become apparent. The racing model performs flawlessly, rising smoothly from the ground with the eager responsiveness of a bird taking wing, maintaining perfect horizontal alignment despite your deliberate attempts to upset its balance through sudden weight shifts and aggressive steering inputs. As you guide the broom through increasingly complex maneuvers, its exceptional qualities become apparent. Acceleration that pushes you back against the handle with surprising force, turning radius so tight it seems to violate the laws of physics, and a stability that remains unshaken even during the kind of radical direction changes that would leave lesser brooms wallowing like drunken dragons. The craftsmanship invested in its construction pays dividends in performance that exceeds even your optimistic expectations. The high-speed trials reveal the broom's true capabilities, its bristles cutting through the air with minimal resistance while maintaining the grip necessary for precise control at velocities that blur the landscape below. The handle remains comfortable despite the forces generated by rapid acceleration and tight maneuvering. Its carefully shaped contours distributing pressure evenly across your palm while providing the tactile feedback essential for confident flying. Every aspect of its design works in harmony to create an instrument capable of translating human will into graceful flight with unprecedented precision. Returning to the workshop with a successful test flight fresh in your memory, you complete the final documentation required for the racing broom's delivery, recording its performance characteristics and the minor adjustments that optimized its handling for the customer's specific requirements. The detailed notes will accompany the broom when it's delivered, providing its new owner with the information necessary to maintain peak performance and understand the subtle characteristics that distinguish it from mass-produced alternatives. The afternoon brings the promised visit from the eccentric customer who claims to possess ancient blueprints for a revolutionary broom design, a middle-aged wizard whose wild hair and ink-stained fingers suggest someone more comfortable with theoretical research than the practical application. He arrives bearing a leather portfolio containing what appear to be genuine historical documents, their parchment yellowed with age, and their illustrations rendered in the precise style characteristic of medieval magical manuscripts. The blueprints, if authentic, represent a fascinating glimpse into the experimental period when broom design was still evolving from crude bundles of twigs bound with whatever materials came to hand into the sophisticated flying machines that dominate modern applications. The designs show innovations that seem remarkably advanced for their presumed age, aerodynamic refinements that wouldn't be rediscovered until centuries later, binding techniques that modern crafters consider cutting edge, and magical enhancement methods that push the boundaries of what organic materials can reasonably be expected to accomplish. These documents, the customer explains with the enthusiasm of someone convinced he's made a world-changing discovery, were discovered in a sealed chamber beneath the ruins of an ancient monastery where medieval wizards apparently conducted advanced research into magical transportation. The preservation spells were so effective that the parchment looks like it was written yesterday, and the technical details are unlike anything in conventional broom-making literature. Your examination of the blueprints reveals technical specifications that seem almost impossibly advanced for their apparent age, including precise measurements for bristle positioning that modern aerodynamics confirms as optimal magical enhancement techniques that utilize principles only recently understood by contemporary researchers, and construction methods that require tools and materials that weren't supposed to exist during the medieval period. The contradiction between the document's apparent age and their sophisticated content creates a puzzle that challenges conventional understanding of magical history. The proposed broom design incorporates features that would challenge even your considerable skills. A handle constructed from multiple wood species joined in patterns that supposedly enhance magical conductivity. Bristles arranged in complex geometric configurations that optimize airflow while maintaining structural integrity. And binding methods that require threads spun from materials so exotic that their very existence seems questionable. The customer's enthusiasm for the project is matched only by his apparent willingness to pay whatever costs might be involved in bringing these ancient designs to life. I understand the challenges, he continues, spreading the blueprints across your workbench with the reverent care usually reserved for religious artifacts. But imagine the historical significance of reconstructing a broom designed by masters whose techniques were lost for centuries. The performance improvements alone could revolutionize modern flying, while the historical insights would advance our understanding of medieval magical engineering by decades. The technical analysis required to evaluate the feasibility of the proposed construction occupies several hours as you work through each specification to determine whether modern materials and techniques can replicate the original design's requirements. Some elements appear straightforward. The basic construction follows familiar principles, while the dimensions fall within normal ranges for high-performance brooms. Other aspects present significant challenges that would require extensive research and experimentation to resolve. The exotic materials specified in the blueprints include several that haven't been used in broom construction for centuries, their magical properties either forgotten or superseded by more readily available alternatives. The binding threads, according to the documents, should be spun from the silk of a specific species of magical spider that may or may not still exist, while the handle construction requires wood from trees that grow only in locations now protected by various magical conservation agreements. The material requirements you explain with the diplomatic honesty that such situations demand present certain logistical challenges that would significantly affect both the construction timeline and the overall project cost. Some of these components might require special permits or partnerships with conservation organizations, while others may need to be substituted with modern equivalents that approximate the original specifications. The customer's disappointment at learning that his revolutionary broom can't be completed using a shopping list from the local magical supply store gives way to grudging acceptance of the realities involved in working with historical designs. The discussion evolves into a negotiation about which original specifications are essential to preserve and which can be modified using modern materials without compromising the design's fundamental character. After considerable deliberation, you agree to undertake the project as an experimental venture, with the understanding that the construction process will involve significant research and development work that may reveal insurmountable obstacles requiring further design modifications. The customer accepts these conditions with the enthusiasm of someone who views challenges as opportunities for discovery rather than impediments to success. The remainder of the afternoon is devoted to organizing the research phase of the ancient Broom project, beginning with correspondence to specialists in historical magical engineering and suppliers of exotic materials. The network of craftsmen, researchers, and merchants that supports the broom-making industry extends throughout the magical world, creating connections that can locate rare materials and obscure technical knowledge when conventional sources prove inadequate. Your first inquiries focus on identifying modern equivalents for the extinct or restricted materials specified in the blueprints, seeking alternatives that maintain the original design's performance characteristics, while acknowledging contemporary limitations. The process requires careful balance between historical authenticity and practical feasibility, ensuring that the reconstructed broom captures the essence of the ancient design without becoming an archaeological exercise that produces something too fragile or exotic for actual use. The evening brings a welcome return to familiar routines as you prepare the workshop for tomorrow's activities, organizing tools and materials while reviewing the day's accomplishments, with the satisfaction that comes from meaningful progress on challenging projects. The racing broom awaits collection by its eager owner. The training models have passed their initial tests and require only final adjustments before delivery, and the ancient Broom project has begun its journey from theoretical possibility to practical reality. The workshop takes on its evening character as shadows lengthen and lamplight creates pools of warm illumination around your work areas, transforming the organized chaos of active craftsmanship into something approaching artistic arrangement. The completed brooms catch the light with the subtle gleam that indicates proper magical integration, while the tools of your trade display the worn shine that comes from years of skilled use. Your evening meal becomes an opportunity for quiet reflection on the day's events, the simple satisfaction of food enhanced by the knowledge that your work contributes to the broader tapestry of magical life in ways both practical and profound. The racing broom will enable its owner to pursue competitive dreams with equipment worthy of their ambitions, while the training models will help novice flyers develop the skills necessary for safe and enjoyable flight experiences. The Ancient Broom project represents a different kind of contribution, not just another commercial transaction, but an opportunity to bridge the gap between past and present, preserving historical knowledge while advancing contemporary understanding of magical engineering principles. The research required to complete the project will generate insights that benefit the entire craft community, adding to the accumulated wisdom that guides future developments in broom design and construction. As darkness settles over Hogsmeade, the village transforms into its evening incarnation, warm lights flickering in windows like terrestrial stars, while the sounds of community life create a soundtrack of human activity, against the backdrop of Highland silence. The ancient stones that form the village's foundation have witnessed centuries of similar evenings, each one contributing to the accumulated sense of continuity that makes places like this feel timelessly welcoming. Your workshop window provides a view of the cobblestone street where occasional late shoppers hurry toward warm destinations, their footsteps echoing between the narrow buildings that line the village's winding lanes. The scene could be from any century in Hogsmeade's long history. The clothing styles change, the specific goods in shop windows evolve, but the basic rhythm of village life continues unchanged by the passage of time. The preparation for sleep involves the familiar routines that transition your mind from the focused concentration of active work to the quieter state that permits rest and renewal. Tools are cleaned and returned to their designated storage locations. Work surfaces are cleared of accumulated debris, and ongoing projects are secured against the temperature changes that occur during Highland nights. The cottage that serves as your home reflects the personality of someone whose life centers around the creation of beautiful and functional objects. Its rooms arranged with the same attention to detail that characterizes your professional work. Books on magical engineering share shelf space with examples of exceptional craftsmanship from other disciplines, while technical drawings and half-finished experiments occupy the flat surfaces not claimed by daily living requirements. The transition to sleep comes easily after days filled with meaningful work, your mind settling into the peaceful state that permits genuine rest while processing the experiences and insights accumulated during waking hours. The dreams that follow are populated by visions of perfect flight, brooms that respond to their riders' thoughts with seamless precision, customers whose joy in flight reflects the quality of craftsmanship invested in their equipment, and the endless possibilities that await those willing to leave the ground behind. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and opportunities as the cycle of creation continues. Raw materials transform through skill and patience into instruments of wonder. Traditional techniques refine through experimentation and innovation. And the ancient magic that makes flight possible, flowing through workshop and village like an endless stream of creative potential. The work continues, each day adding to the accumulated legacy of craftsmanship that connects past achievements with future possibilities. The night passes in peaceful slumber, dreams flowing like gentle currents through a mind at rest, while outside the cottage, Hogsmeade maintains its quiet vigil over the valley, the village settling into the rhythms that have sustained it through centuries of change and continuity. Magic doesn't pause for human sleep. It continues its work through the darkness, aging wood, integrating treatments, and preparing materials for tomorrow's transformation into instruments that enable the miracle of human flight. The ancient Broom project occupies a special place in these nocturnal preparations. Its historical significance, adding weight to the already considerable responsibility that comes with creating something capable of carrying human dreams into the infinite possibilities of open sky. The blueprints rest safely in your workshop, their secrets waiting to be unlocked through the patient application of skill, knowledge, and the kind of creative problem-solving that transforms theoretical designs into practical reality. Morning will arrive with its familiar promise of new beginnings, fresh challenges, and the continuing evolution of a craft that bridges the gap between human aspiration and magical possibility, creating instruments that transform the ancient dream of flight into contemporary reality through the careful application of traditional skills enhanced by modern understanding of aerodynamics and magical engineering principles. The second day of your week begins with the crisp Highland air, carrying the scent of approaching autumn, leaves beginning their slow transformation from summer green to the golden hues that will soon carpet Hogsmeade's cobblestone streets. Your workshop greets you with the familiar embrace of wood shavings and magical preservatives, the atmosphere heavy with the creative potential that accumulates in spaces dedicated to transforming raw materials into objects of beauty and function. Today's agenda includes the delivery of the completed racing broom to its anxious owner, a professional Quidditch player whose career depends on equipment that can provide even the smallest competitive advantage. The broom hangs in its place of honor, wrapped in protective cloth that preserves its perfect finish while allowing the wood to breathe naturally. Every curve and angle represents hours of careful work, decisions made and remade as the balance between speed and control was refined through countless small adjustments. You begin the morning by unwrapping the racing broom for a final inspection, checking every aspect of its construction with a critical eye that separates master craftsmen from merely competent workers. The handle surface shows the deep amber glow that indicates optimal magical saturation, while the bristles display the uniform alignment that promises responsive handling at high velocities. Your fingers trace the smooth contours where wood meets binding thread, feeling for any imperfections that might have developed overnight. The binding holds perfectly, each knot maintaining its precise tension despite the natural expansion and contraction that occurs as magical wood adjusts to ambient temperature and humidity changes. The bristles flex with the controlled resilience that characterizes premium materials properly prepared, their surfaces showing the subtle shimmer that indicates excellent magical conductivity throughout the entire bundle. Every technical specification has been met or exceeded, creating an instrument worthy of the significant investment its purchase represents. The delivery appointment requires you to travel to the customer's training facility, a private complex located in the hills above Hogsmeade, where serious athletes prepare for the demanding rigors of professional competition. The journey provides an opportunity to observe how seasonal changes affect the local magical environment, subtle shifts in energy patterns that influence everything from crop growth to the performance characteristics of enchanted objects. The training facility impresses with its scale and sophistication. Multiple practice pitches arranged around a central complex that houses equipment storage, maintenance workshops, and the specialized facilities required for professional-level athletic preparation. The customer, a witch whose intense focus and confident bearing mark her as someone accustomed to performing under pressure, examines the completed broom with the thoroughness of someone whose career depends on understanding every aspect of her equipment. The handle balance feels perfect, she observes, testing the broom's weight distribution with movements that reveal years of experience in evaluating flight characteristics. The bristle arrangement looks exactly like the specifications we discussed, and the overall construction quality exceeds what I expected from the preliminary sketches. This should provide exactly the performance improvements I need for the upcoming season. The formal handover includes a comprehensive briefing on the broom's specific characteristics, maintenance requirements, and the warning signs that indicate professional attention is needed. You explain the break-in period that allows wood and bristles to reach optimal integration, the cleaning procedures that preserve magical conductivity while removing the accumulated residue of high-speed flight, and the seasonal adjustments that account for changing environmental conditions. Remember that magical wood continues to evolve even after construction is complete. You emphasize, sharing knowledge gained through years of post-delivery customer support. The first month of use will see subtle changes in handling characteristics as the materials fully integrate with your personal magical signature. Most riders find performance actually improves during this period, but don't hesitate to contact me if you notice anything that seems problematic. The customer's obvious satisfaction with the completed broom provides the kind of professional validation that makes the long hours of detailed work feel worthwhile. Confirmation that your efforts have produced something that will enhance her ability to pursue competitive excellence. The payment, generous enough to fund several weeks of workshop operations, represents fair compensation for materials and labor that created an instrument capable of translating human skill into aerial artistry. Returning to Hogsmeade with a successful delivery fresh in your memory, you find the workshop filled with the warm afternoon light that transforms even the most mundane objects into things of beauty. The remaining projects await your attention with patient dignity. Training brooms that will help novice flyers develop essential skills. Custom orders that reflect their owner's specific preferences, and the intriguing ancient blueprint project that promises to challenge your technical abilities while advancing understanding of historical magical engineering. The ancient blueprints have attracted attention from several colleagues in the broom-making community. Word of the discovery spreading through the informal networks that connect craftsmen throughout the magical world. Master Thaddeus Ironwood, whose workshop in Diagon Alley produces some of the finest racing brooms available commercially, has sent a detailed letter requesting permission to examine the documents and offer his expertise in evaluating their authenticity and technical feasibility. The construction techniques described in your initial correspondence, Master Ironwood writes, sound remarkably similar to experimental methods that my grandfather mentioned in his workshop journals, approaches that were supposedly developed by a secret society of medieval magical engineers, but never successfully implemented due to material limitations. If these blueprints represent genuine examples of their work, the historical implications could revolutionize our understanding of early broom development. The possibility that the ancient designs represent the work of a previously unknown group of medieval innovators adds layers of complexity to what began as a simple custom construction project. The research phase, originally envisioned as a straightforward process of material substitution and technical adaptation, now requires consultation with historians, archaeologists, and specialists in medieval magical engineering whose expertise spans academic disciplines. rarely combined in single investigations. Your correspondence with these various experts reveals that the medieval period was far more technically sophisticated than conventional history suggests, with evidence mounting that organized groups of magical engineers conducted advanced research into transportation, construction, and manufacturing techniques that wouldn't be independently rediscovered for centuries. The ancient broom blueprints may represent a rare surviving example of this lost knowledge, preserved by accident or design in circumstances that allowed their eventual recovery. The afternoon brings another customer consultation, this one involving a family whose teenage daughter has demonstrated exceptional natural flying ability and needs equipment that can grow with her developing skills. The girl, barely 16, but already displaying the confident bearing of someone comfortable in three-dimensional space, examines your display models with the practiced eye of a natural athlete, evaluating tools of her trade. "I've been flying my father's old-school broom," she explains, "but it was designed for casual use rather than serious training, and I can feel its limitations holding back my progress. The flying instructor at Hogwarts suggested I needed something with better response characteristics and more sophisticated handling properties, but warned against jumping directly to full racing specifications. The challenge lies in creating something that provides room for skill development without overwhelming a rider still learning to handle high-performance equipment safely. The solution requires careful balance between capability and restraint, incorporating advanced features while maintaining the safety margins essential for younger riders who haven't yet developed the judgment that comes with experience. You guide the family through your selection of intermediate-level brooms, explaining how each model's characteristics align with different stages of skill development and competitive aspirations. The progression from basic training equipment to professional-grade racing brooms follows predictable patterns, but individual riders develop at different rates and may benefit from equipment that reflects their specific strengths and weaknesses. The key, you explain, while demonstrating various handle styles and bristle configurations, is finding a broom that challenges without overwhelming, providing performance improvements that encourage continued development while maintaining the safety features that prevent dangerous mistakes. The goal is to create a partnership between rider and equipment that evolves as skills improve. The consultation extends over several hours as the family evaluates different options, testing how various brooms feel in the girl's hands and discussing the performance characteristics that would best support her training goals. The process reveals her natural preferences for responsive steering over raw speed, suggesting a flying style that emphasizes precision and control rather than the aggressive approach favored by many young riders. The final selection represents a compromise between the girl's enthusiasm for high-performance equipment and her parents' understandable concerns about safety. A custom-configured model that incorporates advanced features while maintaining built-in limitations that can be gradually removed as her skills develop. The design includes expandable performance parameters, allowing the broom to grow with its rider through simple modifications that unlock additional capabilities. This approach, you assure the parents, provides the best of both worlds: equipment sophisticated enough to support serious training while maintaining the safety features that prevent the kind of accidents that can derail promising careers before they really begin. The modification process is designed to coincide with natural skill development, ensuring that new capabilities become available only when the rider is ready to handle them responsibly. The custom order adds several weeks of work to your schedule, but the project's educational value and the family's obvious commitment to supporting their daughter's development make it the kind of commission that provides satisfaction beyond mere commercial success. The girls' enthusiasm for the technical aspects of broom construction suggests someone who will become a knowledgeable customer, capable of making informed decisions about future equipment needs. Evening approaches with the warm glow that transforms Hogsmeade into something from a fairy tale. The village's ancient stones and crooked roof lines softened by light that seems to emanate from the buildings themselves rather than external sources. Your workshop takes on its evening character as shadows lengthen and lamplight creates pools of illumination that emphasize the graceful curves of completed brooms while hiding the accumulated debris of the day's work. The rhythm of workshop life follows patterns established through years of practice, tools cleaned and returned to their designated locations, work surfaces prepared for tomorrow's activities, and ongoing projects secured against the environmental changes that occur during Highland nights. The familiar routines provide a transition between the focused concentration of active work and the quieter reflection that comes with evening's approach. Your dinner consists of simple fare, enhanced by the satisfaction that comes from meaningful accomplishment. The day's successes measured not just in completed projects and satisfied customers, but in the knowledge that your work contributes to the broader community of flight enthusiasts who depend on quality craftsmanship for safe and enjoyable aerial experiences. Each broom that leaves your workshop carries part of your reputation into the world, performing in circumstances that reflect the skill and care invested in its construction. The evening mail brings correspondence from suppliers, colleagues, and the growing network of researchers interested in the ancient blueprint project, their letters providing updates on material availability, technical insights, and a historical context that advances understanding of the mysterious documents. The collaborative nature of magical craftsmanship means that individual workshops function as nodes in a larger network of knowledge and expertise, sharing discoveries and techniques that benefit the entire community. One particularly intriguing letter comes from a historian at the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes, whose research into medieval transportation incidents has uncovered references to experimental brooms with performance characteristics that match those described in the ancient blueprints. The correlation suggests that the designs may represent not just theoretical exercises, but actual working prototypes that were tested, perhaps unsuccessfully, by their original creators. The accident reports from the period, the historian writes, describe flying mishaps involving brooms of unusual construction that exhibited unprecedented speed and maneuverability, but apparently suffered from stability problems that led to several serious crashes. The descriptions match your blueprints closely enough to suggest we may be dealing with the only surviving technical documentation for a project that was abandoned due to safety concerns. This new information adds urgency to the research phase of the reconstruction project, as the possibility of safety issues inherent in the original design requires careful evaluation before construction begins. The challenge becomes not just building according to ancient specifications, but understanding why the original project was apparently discontinued and whether modern materials and techniques can address whatever problems the medieval engineers encountered. The workshop settles into evening quiet as you complete the day's final tasks, organizing materials for tomorrow's work while reviewing the day's accomplishments with the peaceful satisfaction that comes from meaningful labor. The racing broom delivery provided validation of your technical skills. The family consultation demonstrated the educational aspect of your craft, and the ongoing research into ancient techniques continues to expand understanding of historical magical engineering. The cottage that serves as your home reflects the personality of someone whose life centers around the creation of beautiful and functional objects. Its rooms filled with examples of exceptional craftsmanship from various disciplines and historical periods. The collection serves both as inspiration for your own work and as a reminder that every craft tradition builds upon the accumulated wisdom of previous generations, each practitioner adding their own insights to the growing body of knowledge. Your pre-sleep routine includes reviewing technical journals and correspondence that keep you current with developments throughout the magical craftsmanship community, the informal networks that share discoveries and innovations across geographical and disciplinary boundaries. The Ancient Blueprint project has already generated enough interest to suggest that its completion could influence broom design techniques for years to come, regardless of whether the reconstructed model performs as originally intended. The transition to sleep comes easily after days filled with challenging and rewarding work, your mind settling into the peaceful state that permits genuine rest while processing the experiences and insights accumulated during waking hours. The dreams that follow blend current projects with historical possibilities, visions of medieval workshops where master craftsmen pursued innovations that pushed the boundaries of their materials and understanding. Tomorrow will bring new challenges as the Ancient Blueprint project moves from research into preliminary construction phases, the theoretical designs beginning their transformation into physical reality through the careful application of traditional techniques enhanced by modern understanding of magical engineering principles. The work requires not just technical skill, but the kind of creative problem-solving that bridges gaps between historical intentions and contemporary capabilities. The night passes peacefully, while outside the cottage, Hogsmeade maintains its quiet vigil over the valley, the village settling into rhythms that have sustained it through centuries of change and continuity. The ancient stones that form the foundations of shops and homes have witnessed countless similar evenings, each one contributing to the accumulated sense of continuity that makes places like this feel timelessly welcoming to those who appreciate the value of traditional craftsmanship and the magic that transforms simple materials into instruments of wonder. The workshop rests in patient preparation for tomorrow's activities, tools arranged with the precision that enables efficient work, materials organized according to the systematic approach that prevents waste and confusion, and ongoing projects secured against the temperature fluctuations that affect magical wood in ways that non-magical timber never experiences. The ancient blueprints rest safely in their protective portfolio, their secrets waiting to be unlocked through the patient application of skill, research, and the kind of innovative thinking that honors historical intentions while acknowledging contemporary realities. Morning will arrive with its promise of new discoveries and continuing evolution of techniques that connect past achievements with future possibilities. The endless cycle of learning and creation that defines the most rewarding aspects of traditional craftsmanship, enhanced by magical capabilities that transform human dreams of flight into daily reality for those fortunate enough to experience the freedom of soaring through open skies on wings of their own making. The halls exhale, the fabric rests, and the last whisper of thread settles into stillness. If this tale brought you calm, or made you chuckle at a steward proudly defending a very questionable lion, feel free to like and subscribe. No pressure. My spirit's more patient than a servant waiting for nobles to stop changing their minds. Until next time, may your dreams be soft spun, your rest unshaken, and your night quietly enchanted.